Hi, welcome to another program. As you know, last week we have heard an incident where the Prime Minister of India, Modi, and the Indian government has declared that Kashmir autonomy will be lifted and it will be one of their own regions, power, which means that the intention of the Indian government is to change the demographic structure of Kashmir region. That's going to increase the tension between Pakistan and India. That's granted. Already the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Imran, declared that this is going to result or expose great risks and the great tensions between two states, and he cannot even predict what will happen next. But this is also important for my country as Turkey, and we would like to talk about this, how it's going to, what is this Kashmir problem, how it's going to now end up at this moment, and what we expect as a future, as a future projection in our forecasts. So let's talk about Kashmir, India, and Pakistan, and how it's going to affect the global peace. So let's start with. Now, as you know, last week or 2 weeks ago, let's say, Indian government has lifted the autonomy of Kashmir region, mobilize. What is now at first the Kashmir problem? During 1947, British government left the area, and since that time, for the coming 5 years, 1952, there was a problem of violences within the region, because the Muslim population, which was around 70% at that time, wants to link with or wants to be under the administration of Pakistan. But the king of Kashmir wanted to be under the administration of India. Now, that said, the king of Kashmir had agreed with the let's say the elders of the Muslims community, Abdullah at that time, and they have agreed to be under the Indian administration, whereas within the coming, I think, 3 years to 5 years, there was supposed to be an election where the population will decide which state they will be under the administration of. That election had never ever been conducted. Having said that, this creates the basic tension between India and Pakistan, because India is referring that Kashmir is their own territory, and Pakistan state insists that India by force holding the Kashmir and the willing of the Muslim population over there. At this moment, the demography of Kashmir, 65 to 70% of the population is Muslims, whereas the rest are Indian. As can be easily guessed, the Muslim population wants to be under the regime of Pakistan, whereas the others want to be under the regime of India. But the Article 370 has never been applied, as I have already told. And now with this new ruling by the Indian government, it allows to change the demographic structure of Kashmir region. Why? It is the reason, or the main reason, that the Pakistan government is shocked with this development. So what will happen? It is impossible to think these developments not linked with the development of peace talking between USA administration and Taliban in Afghanistan. Why I am saying this? Because as you might remember, the US administration during the 80s used Taliban to fight against Soviet regime. After that, they left the area and left Taliban alone in Afghanistan. And as you might remember, then the terrorist events increased over there, where it ended up the first US invasion in Afghanistan. I cannot say this was a total invasion. It was only within Kabul and Kabul vicinity, let's say. However, in 1 year or 1.5 years, 18 months, I think, they have left the area. I mean, the US soldiers left the area. At that time, the Taliban and the Taliban terrorists they moved back to the mountains between Afghanistan and Pakistan, or to the mosques or the madrasa within Pakistan lands, where they have gathered their strength again. And after the US soldiers left the area, they came back again to Afghanistan. Therefore, in 1994, again the US administration were forced to come back to Afghanistan. Since then, we have been witnessing the fights and the war between the Taliban and the US. Since President Trump is at the office, the peace talk between US administration and Taliban is ongoing, and it is well known by all people around the world that President Trump wants to reach a consensus with Taliban before the 2020 elections in US. It is most likely accepted by all, let's say, people around the world that there will be a peace between Taliban and also US. Having said that, we have to also assume that once the US reach a consensus with Taliban, these fighters will be mobilized to Kashmir easily. Because if you look at the demographic structure of these fighters, they are mostly from Afghanistan and Pakistan. However, there are a lot of people from Tajikistan, from Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and other places, even from Chechnya. So these will not be allowed to come back because of the borders. It will be closed. And they are now well known by their own government, so they need a heaven, or they need a place to live with. And the Taliban are already, or have been already been in contact with Pakistan government, and Pakistan government also utilized them to conduct their guerrilla fights with the Indian forces. They will be utilized in the Kashmir, and with full force this time. That is what we are afraid of at most. Prime Minister Modi, the Indian Prime Minister Modi, might state that there will be nothing and everybody will accept this later on. So don't worry about this. Kashmir will be one of our own city, like others in India. I think he is greatly mistaken. These terrorists will be mobilized to Kashmir once a deal is reached between US and Taliban. And that's why we're expecting that the tension between the Pakistan forces and Indian forces will increase and will be severe. Why? Because last year there was an incident that the terrorists from Pakistan killed some soldiers, Indian soldiers in India, in Kashmir, and in retaliation, the Indian Air Force have passed the legal Pakistan airspace and bombed the camps in Pakistan. This was the first time that India had conducted such a severe operation, a military operation in Pakistan by crossing illegally, and that shows the ambitions of and the determination of Indian government. Having said that, what will happen if there will be serious and continuous attacks from Pakistan land under the control of Taliban to India in Kashmir region? The Indian army or the security forces will be forced to show a retaliation against these operations, thus meaning there will be a great risk of military campaign conducted at first by Indian forces. As a retaliation, later on, not only the terrorists but also the Pakistan government will be forced to act on that, because it will be a direct threat to their sovereignty. It will be seen like this in the international arena. Even though there are some terrorists in Pakistan land, still, if the soldiers will cross the legal border, it means there is a great problem. So for that purposes, I will be easily come to the conclusion that there is a great risk that these operations might escalate the tension. We think that there might be some time to time a military clash between two states' armies or security forces, and there is a great risk or the probability that these clashes might evolve to a war between India and Pakistan. Having said that, we are seeing already some kind of decreasing or controlling the tension between two states by United States. I think United States gets the idea that Taliban will be there. Therefore, during Prime Minister Imran visit to US, President Trump already offered to be a mediator between these two states. Although Pakistan and India have not come to the conclusion that it's a great idea, it seems that Pakistan might lean towards US in order to gain the support, but it seems that India will not be leaning towards President Trump's mediator offer. So now, what's the relation between Turkey and this India and Pakistan tension? As you know, or if you don't know, let me enlighten you. During the independent war of Turkey during 1920s, or between 15 to 22, the people of Pakistan and the Muslim populations in Pakistan have helped the Turkey or the Turks in Anatolia a lot. They have sent weapons and they have sent gold at that time to the people and to the government in Ankara to buy or to support the war between Turkey and the others. Now, having said that, Turkey has not forgotten this favor at all and will never ever forget that. And this is one of the connection between Pakistan and the Turks in Turkey. Not to say that we are both sharing the same religion, and also we have a cultural resemblance a lot. So, thus meaning that Pakistani Prime Minister Imran called after the ruling of Indian government, one of the first leaders he called is President Erdogan, and he asked his, I will say, backup. Turkey, of course, is now going to stand on the position that these two states will and should keep the peace between two, let's say, countries. But indirectly, I believe, because Turkey has condemned the Indian government's lifting Article 370, I assume that Turkey is also supporting indirectly the Pakistan government. So in case of any war, Turkey will support Pakistan. That's granted. I hope there will be no war between these two states, because it's going to affect the global peace, sure. Why I'm saying that? Because the 20% or 25% of that region, the Palestine region, also belongs to China. And China will not let any tension growing within this area. If China is going to get involved with this problem, it will force United States to get involved with this problem, and it will get bigger and bigger and cannot be controlled easily later on. Therefore, the problem needs attention from especially US and UN. And unless it will be given, the risk of tension and the risk of war or clashes, military clashes between these states will increase by time. We will report you accordingly as long as we are going to hear new reports or read new reports and see new developments in media, and we will share with you. Thank you for watching our program, and if you like it, there's a like button underneath. Please press on it and get subscribed to our channel, so you will be the first one to hear from us once we publish a new video. Thank you for watching and have a great day. See you next time. Bye.